Hey everyone, for today's video, I'll be talking about the new 5 and 5 Plus crests that we're going to be getting. More specifically, with the new Nova Shrine that we're getting on the 7th, and then every Friday after that, it's going to have the new Crest Burst feature that can change a 4 or 4 Plus into a 5 or 5 Plus. In order for the Crest Burst to activate, the selected leader has to have either a level 4 or 4 Plus crest. If they have a 3 Plus or under, you'll only get regular Pro crest drops, with a 4 Plus being the best that you can get. It also doesn't work for crossover crests. And when a crest burst does occur and you have more than one crest at a level 4 or 4 plus, it'll randomly choose which it'll burst. There aren't any fragments for 5 crests, so you can't craft them. That means it's going to be a lot rarer seeing someone having them on their units. You are able to flux 5 or 5 plus crests as well, so don't worry about it reverting back into a 4 or 4 plus after fluxing it. But anyways, getting onto the actual crests. Since most of the burst crests are mid at best, I'll talk about the noticeable crests as well as some of the crests that got buffs. But to start, attack up isn't anything too crazy, it's very slightly higher and won't have a noticeable effect. Arts gauge up has 40 arts at 5 plus, which is definitely very strong, although it jumps 11 whole arts from 4 to 5, which is insane. And as you'll notice, the change from 4 plus to 5 plus isn't major in a lot of these buffs. Although for a good portion of these crests, from level 4 to 5, there is a very noticeable change. The dev team is probably trying to promote a larger audience at getting a 5 crest, instead of feeling that it's wasted on level 4 crest. Basically though, a level 4 to 5 burst is a very noticeable change in just about every crest. It's just that the 5 plus will have slightly better stats, and units that have a 4 crest are going to be just as usable when they get their burst in the 5. Although there are certainly a good portion of crests that get a stronger buff from 4 plus to 5 plus versus 4 to 5, it's just that it's not as common. For the next noticeable crest, Heal Man Up got a good amount of healing, definitely going to be good on healers like Haruto. Equip CT has a good change from 4 to 5 at 4% more, so definitely a lot better for support units. As for break power, this is the very rare occurrence that the 5 plus has a very noticeable change from the 5, having 6% more, which is definitely noticeable in regards to break. The reason being that for this one, level 4 to 5 is a 4% buff, whereas 4 plus to 5 plus is a 7% increase, so it's definitely a good chunk better. Crit damage has a very noticeable 4% buff from 4 to 5, which is nice. Curse Frost has some noticeable buffs, but only for the 4 plus unfortunately, and considering how rare that is, it's kinda sad that most people will only get a 2% buff rather than the 7% buff from 4 plus to 5 plus. Truth of Eternity is still basically the same, with the 4 plus seeing the best buffs. Next are the crest buffs. Like I mentioned before, crit damage went up 5% across the board, which is very good for sure. Elemental effect went up 5% damage as well, albeit you're also taking that much more damage against elements you're weak against, so it's a double-edged sword of sorts. And finally, Whirlwind went up an insane amount, with the 4 plus having 12% more damage and break versus the 4 only having 5% more. Not the hardest crest to farm, but it is still fairly hard to specifically chase after that one crest, especially the 4 plus. The new Nova Crest has its own new crest, Hateful Affection. It's not that bad to be honest, a good amount of damage, albeit lowering your status ailment resist, but it is really strong at 5 plus with a 40% damage buff. In all though, the new Nova Crest update is shaping to be very fun, and for everyone thinking it's a waste to burst their 4 crests, lots of them are better at 5 in comparison to the work needed for the 4 plus and 5 plus, so don't be afraid if you don't want to farm a 4 plus or you don't want to play the Nova Crest until you have a 4 plus on your units, since your 4s are going to be just as good, since going from level 4 to 5 has a very noticeable change, whereas going from level 4 plus to 5 plus is going to be very slightly stronger, in most cases a couple of percent, which won't really change anything. The only reason that most people are going to be going after 5 pluses is mostly going to be for the flex, of course, because you're going to see next to none of them. It's definitely nice that in comparison, 5 crests are actually going to be usable, because in the case of arts gauge up, from 4 to 5 is 11 more arts, which is 1 more than the arts gauge up level 4, which actually makes it so that if you can't farm a 4 plus, having that 5 crest will make your units just as viable as that 4 plus, albeit that 5 plus will have slightly more arts, but it won't be as game changing as that 36 total arts will be. If you guys want, I'll try to make a guide for the new Nova Crest when it comes out, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. Let me know what your thoughts are about the crests and the new Nova Crest down below, as well as who you're going to be cresting first. If you did enjoy the video, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.